Hello, everybody. Welcome to Silver Tears Tarot. Today, we're going to jump in with another viewer question. Only this is a question that we've asked before, and they were just kind of asking why we haven't asked it again more recently. And the question is how your person is feeling about you. So it comes up in a lot of readings, but it's been a long time since we've really truly devoted a reading to it. So that's what we're going to do today. Of course, it's a general reading, one that I'm doing for the collective, so it's not going to resonate with everybody. And furthermore, it shouldn't resonate with everyone. Everyone is not necessarily part of this particular collective. So if it does resonate with you, you may wish to subscribe and take a look at some of the other messages um, that want to come out. I think I want to use this deck. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to get the energetic mood, just kind of see what's happening in that mood right now, and then we're going to ask the question about how your person is feeling. So we'll start with that energetic backdrop, kind of the mood of the situation, if you will. That's it's an important thing to understand as you're going in there. And so I usually have some idea just from having done maybe a personal reading or having gone through my meditation of what that emotional backdrop might be. But this is really useful for you guys to be able to see it as it comes through. So this is the energy today of things not necessarily connecting, not necessarily going your way. But not necessarily, it's not so much that things are going poorly. It's just, this is the energy of somebody not working with you. And that's kind of the what you've got going on between the two of you. So you may have noticed that recently there's been a lot of thinking of each other. This is kind of that backlash, and it's them saying, we had the people who had received the texts, and then the next day they find out they're blocked. This is that energy of, and now I'm going to block. Even if they didn't reach out to you, they're kind of wanting to try and, in some cases, just sort things out. But some of them are looking to actively try and hide in the energy or hide away from the energy because they don't realize how much of it is also coming from them. Okay. So we have the Six of Spears coming out in reverse. We've been seeing a lot of this card in the last couple of readings. It's like the Six of Swords in reverse, and it talks about that healing that can't really get started because things can't calm down. It's getting to a place, and ideally, if it's upright, you've got calmer situations so that you can reflect on what's happening. Oftentimes, it's a boat on the water, and it talks about literally getting from crazy choppy waters to calmer waters to a place where you're going to be able to look over the side and reflect on some things that have happened. Here in the reverse, it's saying that's not happening. We're not getting to a place where the emotions are, the thoughts are calming down to the point where emotions can even really be regarded. Healing is not in it's not as strong right now. The feeling of healing isn't as strong, and it's partially because things aren't working together. There's that feeling of trying to block. Queen of Hedgehogs, this is earth energy, and with it being in the reverse, it tells us that there's a misalignment, and it's really true. There's a bunch of cards here that again could be honorable mention, but these are the only ones that really wanted to be in the reading. So we've got the Queen of Hedgehogs and the King of Hedgehogs. Queen of Hedgehogs is in the reverse. King of Hedgehogs is in the upright. It has to do with you and your person and your energy alignment. So there is a misalignment in. We already know this if you've been watching these videos, but there's a misalignment between masculine and feminine energy between the two of you, but there's also a need to balance that energy within each of you. And so what we see here is less balanced feminine energy and more of an opportunity to balance the masculine energy. It's almost like it's giving us the advice that if you can reach in and start to get the masculine energy to start to stabilize, you'll be able to stabilize on the feminine energy too. And what I'm really getting out of that is self-worth. So it's a matter of utilizing some sort of social setting to help reset your self-worth, but of course using your powers for good. This isn't you going out and doing something that's ultimately going to make you or anybody else feel bad. So we have the Star card. The star coming out here talks about, again, oftentimes what we see, the inevitability of this relationship, but it is also the hope that this kind of relationship brings. It's a really positive sort of experience that the two of you could potentially bring one another, but it's also significant what you've already brought one another. And so that's something that wants to come out here as well. There is an inevitability about the two of you and your energy coming together and constantly being drawn together. There's also something to recognize here for the hope that you've created with the interactions that you've already had. And again, I'm drawn to some instance where the two of you locked eyes. That's come up in a couple of readings here. And it's kind of a strong feeling. I don't know what that's all about. We've got the King of Spears in the reverse and transformation in the upright. And these are feelings that are pretty much at odds because this transformation is happening whether anyone likes it or not. It is in the process of happening, and the universe is not allowing anyone to really change that about the situation. The learning is still coming. The transformation is still coming. So you'll notice like there's this energy from a couple readings ago of your person going from the frying pan into the fire, and it's like they're learning lesson after lesson, and it feels like you're learning lesson after lesson, and some of them kind of pile up, and that's the nature of things. It's if you don't take that opportunity to really step back and look at the big picture, it becomes kind of overwhelming, and that is what is happening in this energy. Feels like it might be a little bit overwhelming to both of you, and that's why you're seeing a little bit of that shutdown feeling from your person. They are not in the habit of wanting to deal with things like this as far as the intensity of this energy is concerned. They've made it clear that they would much rather run. But there's also this being called home, kind of. It's almost this sense of being called home. And it's interesting because this is the temptation card, but we're seeing it in the reverse. So the temptation card is like the devil card, and it's generally something that has control over you. But what I'm feeling here is not so much just that it no longer has control over you, but you are able to really resolve some things. This is the two of flowers, and flowers are um, I almost said heat energy. Flowers are fire energy in this deck. And so the two of fire is the same as the two of wands, and that's the one that we keep seeing coming up, saying that there is a mental distance between the two of you that needs to be bridged. The two of you will be able to bridge this distance. However, it is not necessarily something that will happen today. There is an energy that is happening in you that's swirling around between the two of you today that says something has been resolved, but it's like the Nine of Wands is here because the resistance is still there to whatever has been resolved. There's some new truth that has been absorbed to the point where somebody realizes that a change is necessary, and the ability to get on the same page gets a lot stronger. So this is that still that energy of movement. If we look at the big picture, if you guys have been watching these videos, then you'll notice we kind of had this period of nothing's moving. You're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable for a long time. That came out in every reading. And of course, you still have to be able to do that. But now things are moving, but not necessarily within your relationship, but within the energy to the point where it's very challenging to not notice it in your just in your day to day, where even if you've been having a pretty good time with that, this is all of a sudden a time where it keeps breaking through and getting into your thoughts. So it's happening with your person too. In some cases, we've seen people reach out. We've seen the occasional drunk text followed by the block the following morning, and that is that same energy that we're seeing here in the energetic backdrop. So let's look into how they're feeling. There we go. Okay. All right. So remember how over here we had the the Queen Pentacles, the King of Hedgehogs, and the Queen of Hedgehogs both came out. So this is that same energy, and it's that Queen of Hedgehogs in reverse over here. This is the Queen of Coins, still Earth energy over here. So the Queen of Coins in the reverse, This is how your person is feeling. They are not feeling like they have the self-worth. They're trying to get themselves under control. They're having a particularly hard time of it. They can't step back and look at the big picture. There's a lot of pain in that. There's a lot of avoidance and a desire not to have to deal with something. It's a very strong desire to just not have to deal with something. And so, but it's not because they lack love. It's because they're blocking it due to some type of inconvenience. Okay, we have the emperor. So this one is it's the emperor that looks like a balanced emperor but doesn't feel like one, because I'm looking at it. It came out in the upright, but it doesn't feel especially balanced to me. Still looks like it's holding a lot of control over the situation and just trying really hard. It reminds me of the King of Cups, which even in the upright, even with all that integrity and everything, will still feel like he loves, but only so much. It's that kind of control that I feel coming from this emperor. So I associate that trait with the limitations in the love. I associate that with not necessarily a strength of the emperor, or not necessarily a strength of the King of Cups. So that's why it feels like a less balanced piece. But that's definitely part of what's coming out there. There's a limitation, in some cases, stonewalling. I know a few of us have experienced the stonewalling. Well, they'll only talk about one topic, or they will not talk about certain topics. That's a form of control that is just limiting, but not necessarily ending, right? And so we've got the Five of Flowers. There's a desire here. Here it is, fire energy again. Here's a desire not to struggle, a desire not to want to put forth the energy of the struggle. Like, that's just not how I want to do that. But it feels like a defensive maneuver. That's really what that feels like to me. And this makes sense. So we've got the Ten of Flowers over here and the Strength card. So they're overwhelmed, and they're getting to a place where their fears are beginning to outweigh their strength. They're going to get to a place where, so if you've been watching me, like, I think in the very first reading, the Strength card came out, and I said, which only makes sense to people who had been getting personal readings from me at that time, as I always say, the Strength card is interplay between strength and fear. And so I don't remember if it came out in the upright or the reverse, but it never comes out in a vacuum. It's always going to be about that interplay. And so here we see in their emotions, they're really kind of losing out. This situation has a lot they can't control in it, and they're limiting the situation because of that perception of a lack of control and just feeling like they're having a tough time with it. They don't want to have this fight, they don't want to have this struggle. And they don't feel like they have it in them, and they don't have the self-worth really, and the nurturing and the balance. They're unable to connect with the warmth inside themselves, that would allow them to be a better partner to you as you go through this portion of things as well. So here we have the Ten of Hedgehogs. It's a card that we've seen again a lot in the last couple of days, and it's that Ten of Earth, Ten of Pentacles, Ten of Coins sort of energy. It's in the reverse, so it's talking about, it's almost a loss. It's a change in, but it's a loss. It has to do with the physical realm because it's pentacles, but this is like, we know that your person, as they had been perceiving their home life or their surroundings or something about their physical environment, they were no longer seeing it the way that they had been, but now it feels like they've lost it, even though they're maybe still participating. So if they've got a family, but they didn't leave because they're afraid to have their relationship with the children be destroyed, they're still operating at a significant loss because they don't have the enjoyment of the household, and now everyone suffers. It's that sort of energy. And so this is I'm not really sure. I'm a little bit trapped in here, not sure how to move forward with this, don't know what to say. And here's the I don't know what to say energy. And yet this is tormenting them because they have, with the Queen of Teacups, this incredible amount of love and emotion that can't help but show itself to them. And as they're learning lessons, it's showing itself to them in by the light of day. I want to say. And yet they still have this they've got this just a decision that they have to make, an emotional decision they have to make. We're going to pick this one up because I was going to say it's an honorable mention and then I decided not to. But I think I'm actually just going to put it over here with the reading because it's so. Can I do that? I can do that. Okay. So it's a I don't want to put it down if it doesn't belong down there because sometimes I think the cards are being saved for later, but it's going to go over here. So there's this sense of them having a really hard time making a decision because they haven't learned this lesson of discernment. And this is the 10 of cups that we've seen, 10 of teacups in this case, but that we've seen over and over. It's come out a lot for us, and it has to do with not knowing what you do when you come up to something that looks like it's too good to be true. Do you automatically shoot it down in your head and make it an impossibility because your person might? That's something that they have noticed in themselves, and they have to decide now that they've seen this about themselves how they're actually going to handle the situation. So, part of the reason that I'm allowed to lay this card down here is because you know that that lesson in your discernment is also part of your big lesson with regard to this overall situation. So be keeping that in mind. And when we go into the extended, we're going to go deeper into this emotion because this feels like the emotion about the situation, but not necessarily so strongly in their emotion about you. And I want to see if we can dig into that a little bit more. I also want to see kind of the impact of this backdrop because there's a lot going on here with the need to bring the energies into balance, but with the inability to do that because it's not being cooperative and it's just hard to get themselves into the right mindset. And it's partially because of what they're experiencing here emotionally. So we'll look into both of those things, the impact of this energetic backdrop as well as because this is a pretty consistent thing that we've been seeing, but we're also going to look into how they're feeling about you very specifically because this feels like a lot of how they're feeling about the relationship, which is super important to understand. And it gives us some insights. It's going to allow us to understand how to interpret what we're seeing with their feelings when we get into the extended. But first, we're going to do that the question of what you can best be focused on because it's something that we owe you. Every reading should show something about your lessons for you. So we've got the star card in reverse, and this is one that we just got done seeing. I think it was in the extended. I'm not going to be the person who like wants to wait until the extended to ask the good questions, but I will tell you some awesome stuff comes out in there sometimes. And a lot of times it's even just in that fairly standard question that I like to ask about what's in the energy between where you are right now and where you need to go. So that's where this one came out. It was the star card in reverse, and it was about saying, all right, there is a delay in this energy between the two of us because there needs to be, because we understand that there needs to be. However, there's still a lot of hope here. We ended with this really intense message around you'll know that you're getting closer to the end of the bridge when you stop feeling that need to get closer to them. Like you'll still feel the draw to them because that part is inevitable and doesn't go away, which we see that across numerous readings and across those star cards. But the other piece was you're going to be okay with it. You're going to be able to be all right with the ups and downs that happen in the energy that right now might be a little bit challenging. So another card that wanted to come out for you is the Five of Spears in the reverse, and we've got the King of Cups in reverse. So there's something. Okay, this is something that has been bothering you for a while, but it has not been to the surface yet. So until recently, you might not really have even been able to identify it, but it is something that gets in the way of you being able to give and receive love equally. So you'll give love basically very well, but there is something that stops you, and it stops you like dead in your tracks. You've got to get to the bottom of that and figure out what is underneath it because it's something that has not allowed itself to surface in the past. This is something that you're going to need to deal with before you go back and contend with this energy of this person on any real level. So here we are getting heavy in the lessons portion of this, and it's not even the extended yet. Can't wait to see what happens there, because I don't know if you've noticed, but those have been getting the last one. I put a warning on it, um, because it was I thought very intense, and like, don't go there unless you mean it, because this is for the people who it's the people who are gonna be drawn to that energy, that are the ones that are gonna click on that link and decide that they're gonna watch this, okay? And so it's a smaller subset of this crew, and so it's a little bit more of a focused message. So that's the thing to remember about it. When this collective was really small, the messages that were coming out, were not as they weren't as varied, I guess, or there's still such a pattern there, but we were seeing those patterns come out, and you could almost see them bright as day, partially because the collective itself hadn't grown in size just yet. But so you're going to find something. That's part of that intensity that wrapped up that extended reading. And I don't think that was yesterday. I think it might have been the day before. I might be getting my readings mixed up. It's there's been a lot of lessons here for you. But this one is about getting to the bottom of something that is actually impeding your emotion now. And it has been for a long time, but maybe it's just not been something that you were too much putting your energy on. And this Five of Spears that came out with it is very relevant to that. So that's going to be the energy that allows you to dig into this King of Teacups in the reverse energy to find what's at that root. Without the Five of Spears, you would just be redirecting yourself to something else that you felt like maybe needed more of your attention, but you're going to get redirected back to some lessons. They're not about your person, but it may have been enabled by your person. I would say that they were very much, you're going to be in the right place to receive these messages, maybe one and done, instead of having to see them cycle around over and over. You're going to be in a position to understand and receive these messages way better because of what you experienced with your person. Okay, that's the one. I thought there might be one wanting to come out there, but it wasn't clear which one. So we have the Eight of Hedgehogs, which actually was coming out behind this before, and the Three of Spears. The Three of Spears is about you dealing with heartbreak openly within yourself. So it's not necessarily going out and telling the world about it if that's not your thing, but it's more of a being able to just access that emotion anytime you need to as you're going through it within yourself. And it's made possible by the Eight of Hedgehogs energy, which is that emotional self mastery. Emotional self mastery is a really powerful element of the Eight of Hedgehogs, and it's one that if you watch my readings, you'll notice it comes out pretty often. Sorry, I dropped a couple of cards. You'll notice it comes out pretty often as emotional self mastery, but it is also the mastery of something else. And I see you working on something else that's going to help you with that emotional self mastery, not just from the standpoint that you get to practice being frustrated and working through it, but also because it's going to be something that builds on you in other ways. So you have the Knight of Spears, and this is that ability to just jump into something with both feet, with gusto, unafraid to move forward, and with all of the go forward. I mean, just it's a very beautiful energy when it feels like this, because it's just decisive forward action, nothing but. And here we have the Four of Spears, and this is really what's enabling that. This is that clarity that comes from the emotional self mastery. This is healing. This is what is missing over here in that current energy that's kind of getting muddy. It almost feels like you have to give yourself a little bit of emotional and not necessarily spiritual, because you guys are interlocked spiritually in a way that you can't give yourself space. You've got space in the physical, but you need to give yourself a little bit of breathing room in emotionally also, so that you can do a little bit of this healing, because right now you're a little bit interlocked with all the energy that's been happening here in the recent past. You need to let the wind blow through you. And this is that wind blowing through you. That's what it's going to feel like. And this whole thing is just very airy. Not only that, but we've got air, 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 air. I mean, it's a very broad, airy sort of feeling, you know. And then we've got the Page of Flowers, which is that's the one piece that you're going to want to have to watch out for. So the Page of Flowers is giving you that feeling of, I just don't feel like it today. So on those days, it'll pass. Just remember it'll pass. Jump into whatever it is that you want to do and just let it happen. So we're going to get you an oracle card too. Um, oh, optimism. All right. So it goes with that message that I was just giving you. About letting that feeling pass, the I don't feel like doing it feeling. So I'm the person that, and everybody has a slightly different version of how this can play out, but I'm the person that when I first wake up in the morning, like the first 10 minutes, I'm telling myself one of my meditation mantras. I'm telling myself to surrender to this moment. And I've told you before that some moments are easier to surrender to than others. So mornings, the first 10 minutes, I can be wide awake. I'm not especially concerned about that, but I have like the existential weight of the world on me for the first 5 or 10 minutes. And anything that I think of, I can't do it. I can't make it happen. I don't want to work out. I don't want to do a reading. I don't want to. And so what ends up happening is I know this about myself. I know that it'll pass. And so 5 or 10 minutes goes by and I'm in my workout gear because I do know I'm going to do it anyway because I know this about myself. And by then, I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, let's go. I'm getting on the yoga mat. I'm happy about things. It is this optimism about my and the consciousness of my own awareness and my own awareness of my tendency to be this way that allows me to play that in a way that it's 5 or 10 minutes of me running around brushing my teeth and getting into yoga gear and small things like that I'm capable of doing even with my kind of page of flowers in reverse bad attitude. And then all of a sudden the rest of the day I can just be me, which is far more capable of handling those existential fears that we all feel. But it's an optimism that allows you to do this. So, this page of flowers, I refer to myself only to just remind you that it's fairly universal and yours may not look like mine. So, it may look pretty different and yet manifest in a way that you can recognize. It's all about trusting in yourself to have that optimism that here's how I operate and this is what I need to do to get past it. So we're going to go ahead and go into the extended. We are going to look into your person's emotions around you a little bit more. We're also going to look into the implications of this energetic backdrop with the difficulties that they're experiencing, but also the potential. And we'll look deeper into your lessons as well, since those are on fire here lately. So thanks for being here with me with this. If this is your story, you may want to subscribe because the whole thing has been on fire here lately. And otherwise, I'll see you in the extended. Maybe I'll see you in tomorrow's reading.